Hello and welcome everyone to GuildGab episode 35. This is a show where we talk about everything Guild Wars 2, focusing on PvE, lore, and everything Heart of Thorns. Today we're talking about the new Lion's Arch rebuilding and World vs. World, Daydreamer weapons. It's going to be packed. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a great show, but first, let me introduce all of my wonderful co-hosts. I'm AuroraPeachy and Akasaurus Rex. Alex of the RPG Shack and Inks are joining me today. Corvus is unfortunately sick, so send him your love vibes. We hope you get better soon, Corvus. We love ya.
See you soon, brother!
Alright, so I think the topic on everybody's minds that took us all by surprise is the rebuilding of Lion's Arch. Were you guys expecting this at all?
I think we were certainly expecting it at some point, weren't we?
Right.
Probably.
At some point.
I
wasn't expecting it this week, but at some point I figured it would see a rebuilding.
Because we saw Consortium NPCs show up last week or the week before in Lion's Arch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago.
Which is kind of weird, because what's the Consortium been up to since... we're actually talking about this little bit of the story before we went live, since The Secret of South Sun. Because if you all remember, they tried to build, what was it, like a holiday park on in South Sun Cove. And that's where we first met Casimir in her bikini.
Yes.
And Lord Baron shaking it all about.
In his tighty white shirt.
His fancy red panties.
His fancy red panties.
Yeah.
But, no, from a lore perspective, it was kind of thrown into a bit of a grey zone, because originally the Zephyrites were supposed to be the major contributors to rebuilding Lion's Arch after Scarlet's attack, because that's how the prologue started, wasn't it? That we got the Zephyr Sanctum back, and AP cried again, and it was and it was
No.
And you know, all the various activities that we were taking part in were supposed to aid the rebuilding of Lion's Arch, and when the Sanctum kind of took off and crashed, they can't exactly be our benefactors anymore, since most of them are dead.
They're kind of destroyed.
So.
But it's nice that those capitalist pigs, the Consortium, have kind of come along and have
Capitalism.
But like there's been some really big changes, like some really major changes in Lion's Arch. If you've had a chance to walk around, guys.
If you haven't been in game yet, it's not rebuilt yet. It's not. There's been a ton of changes though. It's in the process of being rebuilt. You see like boards and logs everywhere. You see giant structures. There's there's Consortium members and members of Lion's Arch like hammering away on these big scaffolds. There's a lot that's changed. I haven't even seen all the changes yet.
There's a lot of fantastic stuff in there.
It looks really great, and you can kind of see what might be coming. Like there's little hints here and there of what structures are going to be built, what like taverns and different locations. We actually there was a blog post on Tuesday that accompanied this and talked about some of the changes. It talked about some of the different sectors of Lion's Arch. They're going to have sectors like that's a marketplace, and there's going to be one that's something else. I'm blanking, but I think probably the most interesting thing is it might be the entrance location to our guild halls. Over by the Lion Shadow Inn. Is that correct?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's what some people are speculating.
Right. It's part of the speculation, right? We don't exactly know. Certainly all of the guild NPCs are now over there, which is nice because it's a much better location than they were before. And they're all nice and consolidated out front of that structure right now. And
there's a little Azuran Consortium member, if you can find him and you talk to him, he's saying, "Oh, we're doing something guild-related with this building." So I think that I would I'd like to think that Lion's Arch might be the location of the first guild hall, which I remember in Guild Wars 1, one of the kind of the bigger problems that having guild halls completely separated away from the main game was that aside from big festivals and places to trade when you had the trade between player option, it often left cities kind of empty. So if people wanted to do kind of guild stuff instead of hanging out in like the old Lion's Arch or something like that, they'd nip back to their guild hall or something. But having potentially that in the middle of the capital city, I think that's a really, really good thing to do, because there's still going to be a lot of those, people can RP outside of the guild hall and say, we're all here as a guild now, let us go back to our guild hall.
Yeah, I always thought that was probably one of the big reasons that they didn't implement guild halls at launch, besides just development, that they didn't have it developed yet, but that the fact that you exactly what you said, people would go to their guild halls, and then that would take those people out of the public areas, and it would appear like there was less players. So having to force guilds to get together, like in Lion's Arch or in Holbreck, it created that community because you're around the other players. So but I don't really see how that could, we're getting kind of a little off topic, more to guild halls, but I don't see how putting a guild hall, since everybody's is going to be different and customizable, how putting that right there in Lion's Arch, you're still going to go to your own guild hall. I don't quite understand how this is a solution.
So here's what we know about guild hall. We know very little about guild halls, but what we do know is that most of them will be in the open world. And a good deal of them, at the very least, will be in the new zone or the new region of Heart of Maguma. Yeah. So what if this building that they're making is more of a staging area? You'll have all the NPCs inside, probably a few new NPCs that tell you about guild halls, how to get guild halls. And then what if, and this is a big what if, this is all speculation obviously, but what if this building then housed portals to the different locations once your guild has unlocked them? Like, you wouldn't be able to access this stuff until your guild unlocks it. But let's say you open one in the first zone somehow, however that unlock happens, and then you can use this hub area to portal to that part of your guild hall or to that guild hall. This way you flow traffic through the city into this area.
That's a good idea.
There are things over. Yeah, what's interesting is that there's still a couple of blocked off portals in places like Ratasum as well. So, if you have secondary locations from which to access different kinds of guild halls, like I think I must have missed the bit about the guild halls being in the open world, which is whoops. But I think I think that's kind of being the popular opinion at the moment of what you're saying, is that this building in Lion's Arch is going to be the central focus point for people to come together and start building their guild halls and that kind of thing. Because there was, again, going back to Guild Wars 1, there was a it was in the PvP zone, wasn't it? Was it the Temple of Balthazar that you had to go to, and you had to give a bloke a celestial sigil or something? I can't remember how you get it before you could be eligible to get your guild hall. I think they replaced it with money in the end, but there was certainly that kind of vendor area.
It could also be a good location for people who are looking for a guild or people who are recruiting to go into this area that is just all about guilds, so that instead of just spamming, map chat, you can specifically go to that area and someone can say, I don't have a guild, who wants me? And, there can be recruiters there actively. That could be like the hub for that.
There's such a big focus of us being in the heart of Maguma, and there's so many things happening in Maguma that you can only get in Maguma, and they did state that the main meat and potatoes, and that's it, of guild halls is going to be in the heart of Maguma as far as building it up, and the physical place, I'm assuming, is going to be in the heart of Maguma. So for the stuff that we're seeing that could potentially be in Lion's Arch, I think very much, just like Peachy is saying, that it's going to be something of a kind of launching pad intro, like info thing, but it's I doubt it's going to be like that's where your actual guild hall will be, like the main thing. Like
exactly, there's going to be thousands of guild halls. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I don't even understand how they could be open world, because there's going to be thousands of them. How can you even fit that? They have to be instanced, right?
Yeah, I think they will be instant. So the idea, I think, is that you go to a particular location. Let's just take the Golden City, for example. We have some concept art that looks a lot like that Golden City, at least structurally. So let's take the Golden City as an example. Let's just assume that there is a guild hall somewhere in that area. So the guild hall would be this portioned off place behind a portal or a barrier of some sort, and there would be some way to unlock this, and then you could access it in the open world, which is great. If you want to walk out there, you want to teleport out there, warp out there via waypoint, you could do that. However, it makes a lot of sense, or it's much easier that LA in general right now is the primary hub for all the starting zones. You want to go to a starting zone, you can get to any starting zone from LA. You can get to Worldview World from LA. Like it's just a hub of activity. So it kind of makes a little sense to me that once you unlock multiple guild halls, multiple skins or areas perhaps, then LA could be this hub to take you to these different places.
I certainly hope that however guild halls end up a little bit more substantial than like the Royal Terrace or the airship, because even though they have everything in. And I think in chat people are saying, "Oh, wouldn't guild halls be great on airships and that kind of thing?" It's like, yeah, but you'd want something the size of the Glory of Tyria, not the captain's airship that you've got at the moment. So I think that
and we know that they're going to be buildings with structures. We've seen concept art of that.
Yeah, and I'm just guild halls are like my main thing for Heart of Thorns and the rest of this year. It's like, yeah, precursor scavenging as well, but guild halls are just like, oh, the possibilities. Yeah. And I mean, hopefully they'll have, they'll roll out, like Inks was saying, if a lot of these are going to be in the Maguma area, as every kind of subsequent expansion or living story comes out, you can get, you've got a brand new style of guild hall here to coincide with like the Mordramoth kind of style of things and the Kralkatorix style, and then you've got maybe like a set of classic guild halls where you have because I think that's what Guild Wars 1 did, didn't it? You had like your core collection, and then certainly when factions came out, you had people are talking about Peachy's Castle in chat already.
There will definitely be Peachy's Castle for sure.
A big pink castle.
Because we are going to be able to customize them. Like you said, you said in Guild Wars 1 they came out with new themed ones. When factions came out, it was more Asian and factions Canthan themed. But here we're going to be able to customize them, and I imagine that there's going to be a lot of jungly themed stuff, but hopefully there's going to be core themed stuff as well. And then if another expansion comes out, then there will, if it's a Primordus expansion, then there will be like fiery lava structures or something. We don't know, but still, with them being located in the heart of Maguma, I don't see how they can. I don't know. We're getting so off topic. I did not expect to be talking about guild halls, but I think everybody was hoping that the announcement this week was going to be guild halls, so I think it's kind of on our minds.
But
unfortunately, I am. There's something about the new buildings for Lion's Arch that makes me really excited. Was that they said that, and I just love like the idea. Anything to show the story progression and relating to what has happened before. So they're gonna they're saying that there's gonna be a whole actual little kind of Lion's Arch Air Force kind of section, and that they're actually building special anti possible future
air defense,
Scarlet Invasion stuff. Air defense stuff. That's really because it looks like, and it totally is going to be all beautiful and majestic and lovely, but then they're also very clear saying, we just got blown up and we're not going to get blown up again. So they're going to
There's a whole air base. They're building an air base. And which brings me to, we get to name not only that air base, but we get to vote. Players got to vote on, I think it was about 6 different locations in the new Lion's Arch. So if you guys haven't gone over and voted yet, it's in the blog post. I'm sure someone can link in chat the link to that poll. But make sure you vote on what you want the new names of certain locations to be. I thought that was such a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Master compared our results last night, and we had we agreed on one thing. Everything else was
Really?
total opposites of each other. And every time I would say, "What did you vote for this one?" and he would tell me, "I'm like, are you crazy? No, you can't.
That's a
name it
stupid
that."
name.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
But no, I quite like. There's a lot of nice nods to some of the Guild Wars lore and that kind of thing in there. Of course, I still don't trust the Guild Wars community to vote on anything correctly, considering what happened. Yeah. By the way, guys. By the way, we got told, and we brought this up in a previous GuildGab. If you lot had voted the other way, Scarlet might not have happened. So
Yeah,
if you didn't like season 1, you only had yourself to blame.
I loved Scarlet, so I think I voted Keel. I don't even remember.
Always go with the Char. The Char always know the right way. Just saying. Not that I'm supremacist for Char or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, kind of linking the rebuilding of LA and the consortium with Keel. I think that if Evan would have won, I mean, this is kind of going way back, but if Evan would have won, would he really have allowed the consortium to come in and rebuild LA? Because he's a businessman, he owns the Black Lion Trading Company. I think the Black Lion Trading Company would be rebuilding LA with whatever money he would have raised, rather than them paying the consortium to do so.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting when you think about that. That vote for Keel has really now set in motion the possibility of the consortium rebuilding LA.
Definitely.
A privately owned city.
That would be amazing.
Because what's interesting.
That goes against what Lion's Arch stands for, though.
Absolutely. Because for the people who haven't read Sea of Sorrows, what happened originally? There was like Guild Wars 1 Lion's Arch, and then all rose up and it flooded and everybody was murdered, and it was a bad time. And then Kabaya Mariner came along, who has now been, he's got his Fort Mariner and all the rest of it. That's why you have the Mariner's plaques dotted around Lion's Arch. He came along and said, you know what, we're going to build it by the people for the people, and we're going to take a crafty cut on the side and build the city. And you also have him to thank for Claw Island as well. Good game. But Lion's Arch was built up as this city where anyone could come and anyone could make a name for themselves. So it's why Char and the humans didn't fight there. It's why Norns hired themselves out for mercenaries. It's why Azura left their colleges and became merchants and sold tech and magic and supplied pirates and sailors with all kinds of stuff. It's why in the book it's why the Char were when Kabaya Mariner first gets on board the Char ship, they make for Lion's Arch because they think, oh well, we might possibly find refuge there because it was this great coming together place of all these different kind of ideas and ideologies. But now that the consortium is directly funding the reconstruction of Lion's Arch, it could be really interesting to see if you have conflicting interests between the Black Lion Trading Post and the consortium. What if we get the consortium trading post? What if?
Oh wow!
Shoot.
Yeah.
Well, we know from ambient conversation before LA was getting rebuilt anyway, when it was still destroyed for more than a year. We know from ambient conversations between, I think, Keel and Evan himself. Evan has contracts to supply all the armor and weapons to the Lion Guard currently. So, he's still making a tidy profit doing that. At first, he was forced to give weapons, and since that battle has since been over, they're now paying him money again. So, last we know anyway, he still had a thriving business, obviously, the trading post and all that. So he's still making money. Why he hasn't rebuilt LA himself?
Right.
Maybe he just doesn't have the manpower. We really don't know how large the Black Lion Trading Company is as far as manpower is. And we know the consortium is this large, evil corporation kind of, thing. So maybe they just have more manpower than he does.
Well,
dude is the richest dude in Tyria. He could hire whoever he wants. He owns the
true.
trading post.
This is
But-
true. Him and Keel don't exactly get along, though, so
Right.
maybe that plays into it.
I bet that's a big part of it. Yeah.
I think that would be a massive part of it, is that he would like not want to do something very altruistic, given that Keel is part of the governing thing. He'd rather just kind of sit there and hopefully watch her sink, as opposed to actually, I'll come in and help it out. Just like saying like, stupid
Probably doesn't
work,
want Keel to
all
get the
that.
glory, since she won.
Yeah.
But he is a captain, isn't he? So he does get to have his say at the captain's council, regardless of this,
Yeah, I think
despite the fact he's not a standing member. But it'd be interesting to see. You're absolutely right. I don't see why he couldn't, fund the rebuilding of Lion's Arch, especially considering how much he's probably made from us in listing fees over the last 3 years. Maybe, I don't know, but I really like what they're doing, and someone pointed this out the other day as well. I'm just going to pop up the website. That there's this picture that's come out of like the new Lion's Arch, and this
Oh, the concept art is amazing.
oh, it's
Yeah, it's
unbelievably cool. And
It's
there's
so beautiful.
there's the one that we're using as like the splash screen for the show now, done by Peachy herself, which looks very, very beautiful. And but there's also this big Orion thing as well, isn't there? With
It
the
sure
lock-
looks like that. It's like the half circle.
The two lions, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
because
cool.
that's what kind of irked me somewhat, that Lion's Arch didn't actually have a Lion's Arch, and the name was never really explained as far as I know. But having these two giant stone archways as you enter Lion's Arch for the first time, that looks phenomenal. It kind of looks a little bit like, it looks like they're taking inspiration from if you watch Game of Thrones, when Arya first goes to Bravos and she sails underneath the giant statue.
Yeah.
It kind of looks a little bit like that, I think. Well, not like the statue, obviously, but kind of draws inspiration from that.
The only
Before we get too far ahead, I just want to correct myself from chat here. The consortium is conscripted, so they're being paid by somebody, presumably the Captain's Council.
Okay.
Just want to make that correction.
So they won't they're doing the construction, but they're not going to own Lion's Arch.
Right.
Lion's Arch is still going to be governed
right.
by the Captain's
They've been hired.
Council.
They've been
Okay.
hired
Oh,
to do
good.
the construction, right?
Okay. Because they have the manpower.
Yeah.
All right, that makes me feel a lot better. So I was like, you can't have the Captain's Council ruling Lion's Arch. You can't. Lion's Arch is free. It's it's a hub for everyone, and it has to be peaceful. That's like you said, that's what Sea of Sorrows was all about, was making Lion's Arch this peaceful hub for all races and everyone to come and peddle their wares, and a place to live if they have nowhere else to go. The only thing about the concept art, and I am in love with it, it's gorgeous, but as far as lore wise, it looks so solid and massive. I'm like, where is this gonna go? It almost looks to me like it's just on top of the old Lion's Arch. Like it's built around the ruins, or just right on top of the ruins.
Yeah.
Well, I was
I
reading. I think it was saying that this new Lion's Arch is going to be a fair bit bigger than what it was before. Both when it was brand new and also during the current destroyed state. I think it's going to be significantly more open and larger. It's going to be a serious retrofit, I think, to it. So it sounds like they're opening themselves up to a real serious makeover with this. So excited.
And there's... Oh, go on, sorry.
They really kind of did this very well lore-wise, as far as when... I don't know if there's going to be a step between the current Lion's Arch and the brand new Lion's Arch, but there is going to be, they said, you're going to log in one day, there will be a build update, and there will be new Lion's Arch. And lore-wise, they did say that a lot of these new structures are being built off-site. So they're going to, one day they're going to, airdrop them all in. And I think what we're seeing now in Lion's Arch, right now, the construction is kind of the base for those structures that are going to be kind of airlifted in, or however they're going to do that, portal them in or something with some, I don't know, crazy magic they're going to use for that. But and that's understandable development wise. But I give so many props to ArenaNet for going into such detail in like this in-between stage of Lion's Arch that, you know, they didn't have to do this in-between stage with all of these structures being built and scaffolding and stuff, but they did, and that is so impressive. Huge props to them.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this is like since Lion's Arch has been destroyed, the current version we've got now is like the 4th or 5th iteration. I think you had, so you've got,
Yep.
I mean, an already old Lion's Arch was the 3rd or 4th version of Lion's Arch since launch, because you had original Lion's Arch, you had Karka Lion's Arch, and what it did to it, you had Halloween Lion's Arch,
Yeah.
then you had repaired Lion's Arch, then you had Scarlet's destroyed Lion's Arch with the Breachmaker in the middle. Then you had destroyed Lion's Arch with the Breachmaker destroyed, and now you've got the 8th iteration of Lion's Arch is it's being rebuilt for the 2nd time.
The lion statue is gone. There's not even like the broken on fire lion statue is gone.
Yeah, but that's such a great thing because, you know, there are a dozen other game companies out there that just go, oh, screw it, we'll just wipe the floor with this city and just go, oh, by the way, while you weren't here, X character decided he wanted a new city, and now it's here. It doesn't add any flavor to what's going on in the world, but because a lot of us have kind of lived through the story of Lion's Arch from when, you know, even from back when Mad King Thorn destroyed the statue the first time, back to when the city was destroyed, seeing Lion's Arch has become this iconic city. You know, regardless of if you prefer one of the racial capitals, Lion's Arch is the city in Guild Wars 2. People go, oh, I was hanging out in the city. And everyone's like, oh, you mean Lion's Arch? It's like, yeah, it's this big identifiable city, and having it's been given this character through the rebuilding of it in the different instances, and even through all of the books as well. I don't think Lion's Arch featured in Ghosts of Ascalon, but certainly in Destiny's Edge, Logan Ritlock and Air fought in the gladiator pits there, and obviously Kabaya Mariner was from old LA.
It was in Ghost as well. Yeah.
Was it? Maybe.
Yeah, they meet up there originally before they head out.
Oh,
to Ascalon itself. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just fantastic that a city has got this much character in a game, and one of the things that I did miss on my initial pass through was that there's an actual memorial site tucked away over near Diverse Ledgers on White Crane Terrace, and right. I think what one of the options of rebuilding the city is you get the opportunity to name it. I think so.
Yeah, the Wall of Remembrance you get to name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The correct answer is the Theo Ashford Memorial, by the way. So.
No.
What?
No.
What?
So the options are Theo Ashford Memorial, Field of the Fallen, or Forever Memorial. I picked Field of the Fallen.
That sounds awesome.
Theo.
If it was Ashford Memorial, not Theo Ashford Memorial, I would have picked that one. I think putting the
Theo.
first that's then Ashford Memorial, but putting his first name in there makes it so specific to him. If it was just the Ashford Memorial, totally would pick that one.
You and Matt are wrong.
All of the Fallen sounds so much more dignified.
Field of the Fallen is more general. We're not just commemorating Theo Ashford. We'll do a whole section on all of the choices after this, but
it's kind of weird though, because like he was the first casualty of Scarlet, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah.
He was the first to fall to the Aether Blades.
Yeah.
Maybe the first major one that we noticed, because before that was it before that he attacked Queen Jenna? She attacked Queen Jenna, or that was
before?
That was the first time she showed up that we actually saw her.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't remember the order of events.
Or no, yeah, Theo was killed before.
Because we didn't know who did it or what was going on. Yeah, so that was before she attacked Divinity's Reach.
Poor Theo.
Poor Theo.
I'm so sad for people who didn't play Season 1.
Yeah.
You know...
Well, this is just it, too. Somebody like Theo Ashford... I've seen a lot of people, and this goes for Grady as well, they forget who these characters even are, because they were not necessarily minor characters, even though they played a semi-important role in the story. So I don't know. I just like naming stuff after characters, I guess. But
yeah. We're gonna do a bonus section with going through all of these and arguing about them. What's that, Ak?
I was just like thinking leading up to this cast was just like when like thinking about like Alex just saying that the game has done a really great job of adding small little chunks to show that it is like a the whole living world thing. It's a cheesy thing to keep saying it's the living world because but they do a really great job and like Peachy, like back when we back in the very beginning episodes back when I don't think there was any announcement that there was going to be permanent episodes that you could get when we were just in the process of like the temporary content and the controversy of so many people in my mind unjustified complaining about saying, oh, it's temporary, I don't care. But I mean, most of that content was so easily to get through. Like it wasn't content you needed to hammer away for a week to get through. It was fairly easy to get through, and I honestly like the temporary aspect of Season 1, and I kind of like the fact that you can't go back to and that it was something that you had to be there for, because I just have so many fuzzy feelings back when Scarlet was doing the invasion, back during the Tower of Nightmare progression. And I like the fact that when you go back to the Tower of Nightmare, it's just the ruins. It's just the fallout from it. And if you weren't there, you weren't there. It's kind of like, I wasn't at the Battle of 1066, but I can hear about it. I can see some like monuments and ruins, but I wasn't there. But it still happened. So this isn't nearly as long a stretch, obviously, but it kind of feels that way. And I like it.
Yeah, I will agree with you that it definitely does make the world feel more living. Like you said, you had to be there. There were battles, so you can just hear about it. If you weren't there to defeat Scarlet, then you just hear about it. And I'm kind of torn whether I would want something to be, replayable or not. So, like, if I would want all future seasons to be like Season 1 or Season 2. It's like, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. But in the end, I think I would pick repeatable, just because if I wanted to play it again, I would. Most of them I haven't gone back and played in Season 2, except, like, maybe if it was, like, for recording a video purposes or something like that. And, of course, there's, a lot of people go back because of the achievements. The whole achievement system and rewards associated with that. So that whole system would have to be removed if they weren't repeatable, except for the one-time rewards, such as Dragon Bash. We can't go back and experience Dragon Bash, and there are rewards that you could only get if you were there. And that part I really, really like.
I think that part of the idea behind, or a pro for the replayability, especially for Season 2, is that it's a tie between the expansions and whatever kind of purchasable content they pull out that they put out there. I mean, obviously, season 1 had the whole was all about Scarlet, and that's kind of where we pick up at the beginning of Season 2 after the death of Scarlet. So I think if there was they could somehow sort out keeping the narrative element of what's going on, so you can experience the story rather than, because imagine if you tried to solo the Tower of Nightmares.
God.
I think just about everything inside it was a group event. It was a nightmare, pun fully intended, and So like I said, it'd be nice if you could have these, like a soloable instance of the Tower of Nightmares, so you could still experience how Scarlet brought the Crate and the insert other race here together, and then you get up to the top and you fight the toxic thing, so you can still have that. Oh no, it's the Nightmare Court, wasn't it?
Nightmare Court in the Crate.
It was the Nightmare Court, yeah. So you can still experience that as you go along, which is weird now I think about it, because the Nightmare Court are going to have quite a significant role to play in Heart of Thorns itself, because they seem to have some kind of inbuilt or at least Fallon seems to have some kind of inbuilt resistance to Mordramoth's corruption.
Well, as we said before, the Nightmare Court are still connected to the Dream. It's the Soundless that have completely disconnected themselves. The Nightmare Court just resists the Dream, but they still have the protection of the Pale Tree.
Yeah. But I think, even though they've said they're not working on Season 1 at the moment, bringing it into the game, I think at some point people would like to experience that part of the story, because at the moment what you have in the game is you have your personal story, or where you go all the way up to beating Zaitan, and then the next thing that happens is everyone's talking about Scarlet being killed, and you have to go and investigate the Maguma Wastes because of what happened at the end of season 1. So even if you could just do like the final Breachmaker fight or something, and they put together like a previously on Guild Wars 2 kind of storyboard, where they can explain what happened, and now you have to go and fight Scarlet and Ender, and then you get that end cutscene, and then it throws you straight into season 2.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, there was a kind of funny thing. I think I was probably one of the only people that was doing it this way, but when I was first getting Guild Wars 2, I think maybe a little after the the
South Sun?
I can't get South Sun. That's but a little bit after the South Sun. Not only because the creation screens were so much fun, and I just kept on wanting to make new kitties all the time, and I had a real hard time sticking with one thing, but I got way more invested in the living story than I did in the personal story, which is why I never actually got to get any bloody characters up to level 80 and finish the living story, the personal story, because I was just having too much fun with the every 2 week story progression. And it's really funny because I preferred that story and the way that things were, and the way that gameplay did through the achievements and everything else you got through it, better than going through the personal story, which I'm sure probably sounds really odd to people, but and I still actually would, if I would rate the personal story experiences compared to what it was like going through season 1, I had way more fun going through all the activities in season 1 than I ever have trying to go through the personal story, which I kind of find a bit of a slog to get through, to be honest, nowadays.
Well, it's older. So, it was developed a lot sooner, and then they learned things when they were making season 1, and then season 2 was even better in a lot of ways. Not always. Some people still prefer season 1, but just because just through the natural progression of development, and they had more tools available to them, and the storytelling was better. So that's natural.
I kind of, I don't know, I kind of disagree with that a little bit, especially when you get to the Pact storyline. There is such a great amount of replayability when you start the Pact thing, because there was a thing we talked about a few weeks ago about they took out the My Greatest Fear aspect of the story, and I think have they put it back in since, because it was a choice that led you off. They are going to put it back in though, aren't they, at some point?
Yes.
Yeah. And the choices that you made there sent you off in two wildly different directions with the Pact storyline, and there was a whole ton of stuff that people ended up picking, and that the majority of the player base ended up picking just coincidentally, and everyone missed what was going on with this crate orb that suddenly turned up at Fort Trinity.
Right.
So I think there's still a ton of replayability there, and obviously we got the replayability of season 2.
The whole point, I think, is that, especially with Heart of Thorns coming up, all of these stories not only are going to be replayable, but more easily replayable. Currently, if you do the story, even when they go to fix the story, you'd have to level a character up, or you'd have to run a character all the way through those options, get to that split, and then choose a different path. And in Heart of Thorns, you'll be able to play that story, immediately come out, see the payoff, and then say, I want to go back in, and now I want to choose left instead of right, and see those options.
The character's going to talk again. Never going to stop being excited about that. I can't wait to hear my Char's voice. The male Char voice is so freaking cool. It's like Keith David from Disney's Gargoyles. He sounds kind of like that, and I want to hear him talk again, brand new lines.
That's gonna be amazing.
So freaking cool.
The last, going back to Lion's Arch, was there any this show is getting really derailed. It's all right. What were some of the there's little secrets and little things. Someone that mentioned there's a Karka, a baby Karka, or a Karka egg or mini or something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So by one of the construction sites, just off of where the line statue used to be in the water, there's a bunch of barges, and they have sand and wood on it, and one of them has like steel plates or steel pillars. And in that one, you can find, I think it's more than one. I think it's two of them or so, maybe three. Little tiny Karka have smuggled aboard these little barges that are coming into the city here.
Damn
Karka babies.
So
help me.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Does that really set up? Is it just there because it's a funny little nod to the fact that these supplies are maybe coming from South Sun into L.A. and they've smuggled themselves aboard? Or are we going to see are we perhaps going to see this develop? Could these little Karka become like, that old myth of flushing the alligator down the toilet and he grows into a full alligator in the sewer? Could these Karka grow into a giant Karka in the sewers of LA or something?
Oh my god,
That would be awesome. The Karka of Lion Search.
I think that it's just a little nod to the Karka event. It's just that flair, because we do know that ArenaNet loves just putting little flair in for no reason. There doesn't have to be a reason. It doesn't have to be foreshadowing to something. They just love putting in those little extra details, and I think it's something like that. I don't think we would ever see another Karka attack on Lion's Arch. I don't think that would be a popular thing.
I agree. I don't think we're going to see an attack, but it would be interesting if they were just a little one or something wasn't in the sewer or something, maybe not even attackable, but just a little nod to it or whatever.
It could definitely be one of the little side storylines that, if you, every time there's a new iteration of Lion's Arch or every time something changes, you can go and try and find the Karka. So maybe they're all, the little baby Karka are going to always be somewhere, and one day they're in the sewers and then one day they disappear and you have to go find them somewhere else. They're in the bay and they're a little bigger. One of these little side stories. That would be cool. All right, let's finish this the last 15 minutes or so. Let's switch over to the blog post. Today was about World versus World. I meant to ask who kind of knew the most about World versus World. It's not my area of expertise necessarily. But they're changing the structure of I just forgot the word for it. The
point system.
The point system.
The point system and.
Like the way that you upgrade your towers and that kind of thing. So the point system, on first glance, it looks like everything's just going to be a little bit cheaper in terms of your World v World points to get and level up, which I guess is a good thing for people who don't necessarily dive into World v World as often as the hardcore World v World exclusive guilds. I think that would certainly get a lot of people in, and it's kind of interesting because they I don't know too much about World v World, so this is a problem.
So there's some in my opinion there's some really nice changes coming to World vs. World. So for example, right now you have to spend gold and supply in order to upgrade keeps, towers, etc. That's not going to be a thing anymore. They're automatically going to upgrade over time, and each Dolyak that now comes into the keep will deliver less supply, but it will also push that build timer up like 5 minutes. So this means a couple of things. So first of all, you need, protecting those Dolyaks are even more important now. They're changing the guards so that they go after them more to try and kill them, stop them. So defending those supplies will be a lot more important. And one of the big changes is, besides reducing the number of points that go into all of the different traits, not traits, but ability points rather, two of them are, right now you have a guard buff, and the names escape me off the top of my head, but there's two of them that are getting removed. Currently there's two buffs. When you kill a guard, one increases power and one increases defense, I believe. Those are both getting removed. It used to be 10 points. I think now it's 5 points, so it's like half the cost it used to be. And those percentages that used to go from, say, 1 to 12 or so now go from like 2 to... It's doubled, basically. So before it was like let's just say it was 1 to 20. Now it's like 2 to whatever. I'm saying that wrong, but basically they doubled it up, and you need less points to put in. The reason people seem to be so upset about this is now it takes less time in order for you to get those ranks because you need less points. And those World v. World veterans who have been playing since day one or many months now have rank 1,000 plus, and they're capped on all of these points already. So changes to the system mean that they have even more extra points that they already don't have a use for. And because in the blog post at the very least, ArenaNet didn't talk about like new abilities to put points into, people are rather upset that new players coming in are going to be able to get what they have with less effort and less work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in part that's one of the things that puts people off World v World. That the fact that, you know, you can go in as a rank 10 whatever, and you see all of these, you know, you're pretty damn useless until you have a whole bunch of points to stick into like ram mastery and defense against guard, just to give you a little bit more survivability and usefulness in a Zerg. I noticed Rihanna's just dropped into chat, so she's probably going to scream at me about how wrong I am. But the thing is, I think it's actually quite a clever move to make these changes now. What with the new map that's going to be coming in for World v World, this new desert map or whatever it's called, it just looks... I know that the World v World community isn't too keen on it as a whole, but it's certainly going to attract more PvE players into World v World, I think. And having this refinement, and even I guess you could argue dumbing down of the World v World kind of point mastery system, it kind of benefits and caters towards the more, to me at least, the slightly more PvE aspect of it. But then, like Inks was saying, if you don't have to spend gold anymore to upgrade objectives, you don't have to worry about farming things in World v World in order to provide the upgrades and everything that you want to your side.
Right. I kind of see it as how when they do skill balancing and they take the skills that nobody uses and kind of, you know, change them up, buff them up a little bit, and the skills that everybody uses, they'll adjust those so that you get a more wide variety and everybody's using a wide variety of skills. I kind of see it as that as far as the point system, where they're taking the more powerful ones that everybody, you know, like they said in the blog post, the first 230 points or so you get, you're going to want to put them in this one or two, these lines, and max them out before you even look at everything else. So they're trying to balance it out so that you don't have, you know, this, it's not so specific, there's not like that meta, so you can kind of, people can have slightly different roles and do slightly different things and not feel like, you know, everybody's kind of forced into this if you want to be effective. So they're kind of trying to rebalance that.
Yeah, I remember one of the very early changes they made to World v World was, I can't remember why they took it out. There used to be like an altar system, didn't there, where you could take like an orb of power and take it back to your citadel or something, and it gave you like a ridiculous boost. Was it because people were cheating, or because it was overpowered that they took it out?
People were exploiting that system and using it to gain an upper hand. You know, I do understand those who are veteran World v World players. I do understand their frustration. I think some of it is a bit like misplaced anger currently. They got a new blog post detailing these changes. Most of the changes are very positive, I think. But because they're not adding enough, like, they're lowering the entry barrier for players to get into World v World. That's a good thing. I know some people will say, we don't want casuals in World v World. But you need to entice more players to come in. You want fresh blood. You want more players to play World v World. Introduce them to that system. And right now, like structured PvP, it's kind of difficult to get those more casual players or those more PvE focused players to come in and try those things out. And perhaps, you know, in the long run, maybe it's just not their cup of tea anyway, and they'll end up not doing it. But lowering of that barrier of entry where they don't come in and feel like they're very far behind is important. On the other hand, you also need to reward the veteran players who spend all of their free time in World vs. World, who have 1,000 extra points or whatever it is. I'm not even sure how many extra points these guys have because their ranks are so high. Guys and girls have because their ranks are so high. But you need to give them more traits and more choices and more stuff to spend, or at least something to spend those points on. Because even badges of honor are not overly rewarding. And removing the gold sync is a good step. You know, at least they don't have to, they can worry a little bit less about that. But World v. World needs some more higher tier rewards for those players who spend all their time there.
Agreed.
I'm not sure exactly
Absolutely.
what they need, reward tracks or something to entice players in general to put more hours into World v. World, a lot like structured PvP has started to do, right?
Well, they introduced the reward tracks for loot and dungeon armor and stuff into PvP. What if they did something like that for World versus World?
I think so. They tried that originally, didn't they? Or there's particular vendors in your Citadel where you can get a particular weapon and armor skins, but they're not that great. They're kind of like bandit and pirate type weapons, and they look a little bit scabby. So if you had, if you could get some really nice big shiny armor, to say, hey, you know, look, I'm rank 2,000 and something in World v World, and people can see you from half of Tyria away because you're shining
Well,
so
something
bright.
exclusive. We have the glorious reward track. We have the glorious armor that you can only get in PvP. So we need something like that in World versus World. Some kind of armor set or something you can only get in World versus World.
You know, they introduced with seasons, which ArenaNet, please, we need another season. They introduced with season this new weapon set that you can earn, and there's a regular weapon set and there's a shiny weapon set. You take the weapons and add like white wisps to them and such. That's a cool step, and that's a cool thing that you reward for playing in seasons. But you need to take that and take that to the next step for playing all of the time. There needs to be like an additional armor set, weapon set, whatever, miniatures, whatever you want to add to some kind of vendor there to make it extra special to play World vs. World more. And I realize that's going to draw some players. It's going to draw particular players as well that just want those rewards, so they'll just come get those rewards and leave. But, and I realize that's not what everybody wants, but at the very least, they're there playing, hopefully contributing to World vs. World itself. I think there's balancing that needs to happen there. Obviously, it's easy for me just to say add a reward track and that'll solve everything. There's rebalancing that needs to happen in World vs. World in general. Everything from the traits to the rewards to just how things function currently. But we're starting to see a little bit of upgrades. We just need a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that World v World doesn't alter your armor stats like PvP does? Because that's quite unbalancing, isn't it? I mean, obviously most people are going to be, you know, the vast majority of players are 80, but if you come in and you're level 30 and you're wearing your green gear or whatever, that puts you at a very significant disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how World vs. World works. I mean, I think some players have to realize that you know, structured PvP is an even playing field for everybody. World v World is not an even playing field. Gear definitely, because you're using your PvE gear, it definitely makes a difference in World vs. World. And if you're an underleveled player, you're gonna have a tough time. And I'm not sure that there needs to be a fix necessarily for that, or that there's an easy fix for that necessarily. I mean, I think they get boosted, right, if you're underleveled. I haven't been underleveled in so long in World vs. World, I don't really remember, but I think you get boosted.
You get, your
but
level
the boost
gets
is
boosted.
artificial, right? It's not enough. So
Yeah.
it's something, but
Yeah.
World v World really is for level 80 characters.
Yeah.
And I realize that sounds a bit like non-inclusive. You certainly want to try to include all players in everything, but there's also content that's available for level 80 characters. And while you can go in at a lower level, it's really designed and balanced around being level 80 with like exotic gear at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did they say that these balancing changes for World vs. World were going to come before Heart of Thorns? Did they say that at all?
Can't remember.
Is this going to affect the current map, or is this just for the new one?
It says the way you look will be world objectives. This is the Heart of Thorns expansion, so
this is going to be a part of the new map.
It's going to affect all maps. These changes will affect all maps, but maybe they won't take place until the expansion, it sounds like.
Okay. Gotta wait for that expansion. Still no release date. I know someone's gonna ask. Still no release date. There's
no
always
official
that
release
question.
date. Yeah.
No official release date. There has been. There's something on Amazon about you can pre-order it, but that date is just a placeholder, guys.
Yeah.
Official Guild Wars 2 Twitter has said that is just a placeholder.
That being said, Guild Wars 2 will be at GDC coming up very soon. It's like 3 weeks away or so, I think.
Oh boy. When it's ready.
But the Germans have said that it'll be out on the 30th of June, and the Germans are known for their ruthless efficiency and timekeeping. If nothing else.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
That would be pretty amazing.
I think June is very, very early for the expansion to come out, especially.
I think so too.
And it's like everyone's just finished farming beta portals, so they've got to get in a beta, the balancing, the marketing campaign, and pre-orders and everything before the 30th of June. So
I'm still going for end of August.
Yeah,
I think like it's September or late August would be a good time.
Yeah. So do we want to comment very quickly on the Daydreamer weapon skins that were released?
I like it's rare that I find a set, and I don't have any of them. I don't have any tickets this time around, but it's rare that I find a set where I like the majority of them. Not every single one, but the majority of them I think are really cool looking.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like the glow in the glass. Like
it glows. I was going through them. I didn't even notice until halfway through that they glow like Sylvari.
Yeah,
I'm so scared that this has something to do with the pale tree. Like the pale tree died, and they decided to make weapons out of her. It's got the face. It's got like the pale tree face, like on it.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. It kind of looks similar, and they're green and viney, and it's like Sylvari armor. It matches that.
I think there's some good skins. There's some crap skins like Warhorn. Warhorn just eternally suffers. It's a shape that you just can't do anything decent with it.
Oh come on! There was that Crimson Lion set where you like blew into the lion's butt or something, and it like roared.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way, I wish there was a way to preview you swinging it or something. For some of these, it's like the Warhorn. Like I have the Lion Warhorn, and the whole reason I bought it was because it makes a different roar sound when you use it. I don't think that the new weapon set makes a different sound, but there's a couple different Warhorns that make weird sounds. I heard the bow
or the rifle is a different sound. I don't know that for sure. But yeah, I totally agree. I wish there was a way to preview it. I mean, there's YouTubers who have it and will preview it, but I wish there was an in-game way.
Yeah. But yeah, they're nice. They're a lot different from the last couple of sets of skins. They look a lot more organic and natural compared to the Balthazar set and the Shadow set, which are all now 5 tickets each.
Oh, that's so much. That's so much for an old skin still.
I think, didn't they, and I don't know whether, this may have been a rumor from PAX South, going all the way back to PAX South, beginning of the year. I remember either it was Party Talk at PAX South or something, but they said that they were looking at revamping that system, but, we haven't heard anything about that since then. But I really do hope they take a look at it, and because what's a shame about this is they have so many sets. There's so many Black Line sets, and now they're removing them to add new ones. So like the Tormented set, which was just 1 ticket recently because it was on sale because of the anniversary of Guild Wars 1, or the original game, That set's now removed. Unless you buy it from the trading post, you can't
Thank
get that
God
set
they're
anymore.
tradable on the trading post.
Yeah, and like the Skelerite set, for example, I know not everybody's favorite set. Some of those are not even obtainable anymore, unless people who are hoarding those skins eventually want to sell them for, a couple thousand gold or something crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Especially that Warhorn. The stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the possibility that ArenaNet can bring these skins back at any time, and they may, but we haven't really seen that happen just yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it needs a rework, but I don't see them changing it too much because it obviously is working for them. I mean, we're getting a new set like every 2 weeks, and so obviously they're making bank on these.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of development for, nobody buys Black Lion keys to get... Obviously they do.
Oh, they do. They do.
So...
Trust us, they do. It's Colin swimming around like Scrooge McDuck in his swimming pool of money.
They added 2 mail carriers to the Black Lion chest this time around as well.
Yeah.
A parrot and a raven.
Parrot and a raven, yeah.
I was afraid that they were like bind on accounts, like bind on pickup, but you can actually buy them off the trading post, which is such a fantastic move. Yeah, you can actually buy and sell them off the trading posts. That they only come from the Black Lion chest, so there's that incentive to get those. They're uncommon drops. They're not that expensive, but it's very cool. I don't know. I like that they added something like that to the Black Lion chest.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool that they're not a lot, but you can see that kind of thing. Oh, my screen's gone really dark. You can see that kind of thing becoming very expensive, can't you? Once they're off.
Yeah, down the
once they
line,
take
once
them
they
away,
remove
absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Just like the Black Lion skins that they take away. They're, the prices shoot up. But they've showed that the last time, I forget what the occasion was, just a couple weeks ago, that they brought back the Chaos skins and the Tormented skins for one ticket.
It was the 10-year anniversary of Guild Wars 2.
Right, because those were based off Guild Wars 1 skins, that's right.
Yeah.
So they put those back to one ticket. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll do that more often, bring in some older skins in rotation, put them to one ticket for a week, and then take them away. So they're saying this is your one chance to get these again. So, once the prices for them on the trading post skyrocket, they can bring back that set, put some more back into the economy, and that kind of fixes that. So hopefully they'll do that more. Like, personally, I'm hoping that every Valentine's Day they put the Love Struck skin out for a ticket, I was kind of hoping, honestly, I was hoping for that last Valentine's Day, but they didn't do that.
They did do it. It's only 2 tickets. There's 2 tickets.
Oh, that's right. Skins. They did lower it to 2. You are correct, sir. I'd rather buy them on the trading post than even spend 2 tickets on one skin. Those tickets are so rare.
Yeah. Ah, dear.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up the official show there. Stay tuned for the after show if you're watching live on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, please feel free to click the names below our pictures. My words just failed me. To go to our YouTube channels, the links are also down in the description. Don't laugh at me. He's going to mention the Zephyrite Sanctum, and then he's fired. If you mention the Zephyrites, you're fired.
The what? The what, sorry?
We will see you guys next week for another specialization. Bye, guys.